Helena Begay tearfully looks back at her homeland from afar, the cattle which she treated like family that she has to abandon, and her family's Hogan. She does not know it yet, but this would be the last time she would see her ancestral homeland. She holds her mother's hand as they walk through the vast barren desert of Arizona. Gaunt and her body aching, she wishes to rest, but groups of U.S. soldiers follow her community closely, clutching daunting rifles while threatening to shoot them if they falter. Like Kelowna, many Navajo children and their families were evicted from their land and were mandated to walk hundreds of miles to camps in New Mexico. This tragedy is still recounted to young Navajo generations and provides a basis for storytelling. Storytelling culture is deeply embedded in the roots and extensive past of Navajo culture. It is also included in Chester Nez's memoir, Code Talker, where he not only details his wartime experiences but also his daily life. The fears detailed in these stories impact how he views his American identity and the American dream. Today, Navajo poets and oral storytellers continue to pass on these stories to preserve this ancient tradition, demonstrating how storytelling is still imperative to the culture and shapes each Navajo's American identity. The Navajo tribe lives in the Navajo Nation and has an extensive and deep-rooted history which is shared among generations. One of the core beliefs of this history is that the Navajo people, or the Dine, passed through 3 different worlds before emerging into this world, the 4th world, or Earth. The Dine arrived between 800 and 1,000 years ago, establishing themselves in the Southwest. Over time, the Dine developed a culture with values deeply set in nature, which includes sacred mountains, rivers, and landscapes, as well as more than 50 kinds of ceremonies called sings. There are also many different customs and artistic expressions, like weaving, silversmithing, and sand painting, with their own individual stories that have been passed down to the present day. Overall, Navajo culture has had an impressive past that has affected future works such as Code Talker.
In Chester Nez's book, Code Talker, a memoir published in 2012 about his personal experience in using the Navajo language for an instrumental code in World War II, he also reveals great insight into Navajo storytelling culture. From a young age, Nez was taught that in Navajo life, everything has a story, narratives that are both significant in ceremonies and in everyday life. These stories are deeply entwined with the Navajo language. In conversations with his grandmother, it was explained how the Navajo believed that speaking their language brought the world into creation, and in turn, the creation of the world gave life to their language. Along with the stories that describe the Navajo people's view of creation and nature, their stories are a way to orally pass down the ever-changing history of Navajo life. Unfortunately, this includes some disasters. The Long Walk of 1864, when more than 8,500 Navajo were forced from their homeland, is remembered as one of the greatest tragedies in Navajo history. A horrific injustice against them and passed down to always remember. Decades later, Nez witnessed firsthand the second great Navajo tragedy, the Livestock Massacre, in which the U.S. government destroyed large herds that Navajo families worked so hard to care for, and that they relied on for their livelihood. Chester's family lost a significant amount of livestock, about 700 out of their 1,000 heads of sheep, a very painful moment for them and many others. And the massacre would be a crucial account to share in families. Nez demonstrates how storytelling is a way to preserve their beliefs and history that remains woven within the broader American culture. Americans in society at the time had fears and stereotypes about Navajos, including Navajo expansion and overgrazing, and this manifested in events such as the Livestock Massacre. The Livestock Massacre impacted society by causing long-term economic and social hardships for the Navajo people, and their view of the government. For Nez, being an American meant responding to these fears about Navajo people and striving to retain his Navajo values in his American identity, despite the conditions and people around him trying to erase it. Recently, during April 17th and 18th in 2025, the Literary Arts and Oral Symposium, NTU, went to celebrate National Poetry Month by bringing together many Navajo poets as well as oral storytellers. The event highlighted and emphasized the fact that storytelling in Navajo culture can be seen as healing and preserves Navajo culture as a whole. This event encouraged many participants to connect through these stories, and it also taught many of the younger generations about their ancestors and what they went through. There were many different storytellers and speakers, such as Joe Ki Pa, who spoke about the harmony that people can have with nature. There were also students who presented their own stories and even personal family stories, sharing their perspective on Navajo culture. From childhood, Navajos are told the stories that represent them. They often include lessons about preventing danger. An example of this is Navajo Yeishto. Although there are many powerful adversaries in Navajo stories, the most feared of them all is Yeishto. This creature would eat so many humans that they almost went extinct, but 2 brothers came to defeat the monster, Negishi and his brother Naye Nizgani, both children of the sun. They used lightnings and sunbeams in order to confront and bring down this monster, only with the help of the sun god Joanna and the wind god Nilchi. were they able to bring down the massively feared monster. These stories that are taught to the Navajo youth include morals that parallel society today. By including concepts such as the triumph of good over evil, Navajo youth learn to see the American dream through their cultural lens and the staunch values they apply from storytelling. All in all, storytelling remains a powerful way for Navajo people to relate their history, meditate on their ancestral experience, and create their own identity within the broader American society. From Chester Nez's reflections about how storytelling affected his life in Kotaker, these accounts reveal the resilience and strength of a people who, despite great adversity, have still prevailed in sharing their culture and staying true to their identities. Today, storytelling is still a major foundation for Navajo culture. Poets, as well as Navajo families, continue this legacy and continue to teach younger generations. Through each story that continues to be told, Navajo people not only preserve their rich culture, but also confirm their importance in the ever-changing American society.